Stranger Things Season 4 manages to fix a major problem I've had with the series ever since it began, which is to say it suffered from a similar problem that the Marvel Disney franchises also struggle with. Poorly defined antagonists.
Though here's hoping Bale shakes that up with Gore the God Butcher.
When it comes to a well-written story, the importance of the villain cannot be understated, as they not only are the driving force to the progression of the story, but they are a motivating factor to both challenge and progress the story's protagonists. In that sense, the weight of importance is always tilted on the side of the bad guy in order to make for a story that's actually compelling. The problem with the first 3 seasons of Stranger Things has always been that the antagonists were more of a physical threat to the kids and never managed to challenge their sense of morality. The latter being extremely important as it helps provide pathos or the motivation behind the actions of the antagonist. Case in point, the first season of Stranger Things revolved mostly around a single Demogorgon. The second season focused around several Demogorgons and introduced the nebulous Mind Flayer. The third season then added a kind of hybrid between the Demogorgons and Mind Flayer with the Spider Monster. And what's lacking with all of these monsters is that you could replace them with ravenous beasts and more or less get the same result. Problem being, they're so animalistic that there's no ability for them to communicate their motivations to our heroes as they cannot speak. Sure, these eldritch horrors are physical threats, but why do these monsters want to kill the kids?
Who knows? They're just bad. That's why.
Minor spoilers ahead.
Season 4 manages to remedy this, however, with the introduction of Vecna. And as a big fan of 80s horror, I gotta say, Vecna is badass on all fronts. His character design is both imposing and grotesque, from the visual way he's a composite of 80s horror archetypes like Freddy and Pinhead, to the low-end reverberations of his voice.
It's time for your suffering to end.
On that note, I really can't overemphasize the importance of sound design when determining how an antagonist will sound to both the protagonist and to the audience. The classic use of low-end, pitch-shifted modulation can add a ton of weight to how intimidating a villain can be. Just take a look at that new Obi-Wan show that dropped the same week as Stranger Things. The Grand Inquisitor here has a semi-decent, imposing aesthetic, but his voice just lacks the power required to back it up.
You know who we are.
Inquisitors.
You know what we do?
You hunt Jedi.
In actuality, I would say, the Jedi hunt themselves.
He sounds too whiny, in my opinion. Pitch shift that down a bit though, and listen again.
You know who we are.
Inquisitors.
You know what we do?
You hunt Jedi.
In actuality, I would say, the Jedi hunt themselves.
I don't know about you, but I think that sounds much better. He's no longer whiny, and instead actually sounds like a threat. But hey, that's just my opinion. Let me know if you think this makes him sound better or worse down in the comments. Of course, I'm not saying every villain's voice should be pitch shifted down. I'm just saying in some cases, it certainly helps. And it certainly seems like that opinion was shared with the team who designed Vecna, because he sounds like a threat with every word uttered. Quick side note on the team who designed Vecna. According to Variety, linked down in the description below, it's the same folks who designed the Night King from Game of Thrones. Go figure, no wonder it looks so good. Now let's circle back to my original point about villainous motivations and why having an antagonist who can actually communicate is such an important change for this series.
Heavy spoiler warning.
In the tail end of episode 7, we learn who Vecna is, the backstory for how he became so powerful, and how he ended up in the Upside Down. It finally provides all of the antagonistic forces within the show some much needed motivation for their actions thus far, as the catalyst for the entire story now stems from Eleven's very first action of casting Vecna into the void. There's finally some connective tissue between antagonist and protagonist beyond some ambiguous awareness of one another. Vecna, nearly destroyed by Eleven, seeks revenge now that he's leveled up from a modest level 50 psychopath to a staggering level 500 dark god. In turn, this one story beat illustrates how the nebulous entities that employ him, like the Mind Flayer, gained their awareness of Eleven and Company via Vecna. He is the conduit that glues the entire story together. It's a super simple, extremely campy explanation that perfectly suits the tone of this show, and it's really why the quality of this season stands out from all the others. It simply feels better because there's finally a tangible antagonist to drive the plot. If you've made it this far, I'd like to thank you for watching. As far as other shows are concerned, I've got a few hidden gems lined up that I plan to discuss in future videos. So click the buttons if you'd like to hear my take on anything else down the line. Also be sure to let me know what your thoughts were on Vecna as an antagonist this season down in the comments. I'm definitely curious to hear your takes on the impact this character had to the plot. Thanks again for watching.
Take it easy.